Hey, it is now 6:36 and we're just going to start the webinar. I'd like to welcome everyone on this webinar. It is being recorded, and so whether people are participating with us at the very moment or they choose to watch it later, the information can be shared across the district. We held an earlier session today for our administrators and for our staff. And it's certainly this evening, welcome them back, but also hope that we are having this webinar with lots of parents who are seeking to learn more about the state of the district and to receive this update. My name is Verna Ruffin. I'm the superintendent of schools, and I have several members of my staff who are here with me this evening to be able to talk with you about various updates that are relative to all of you. You know, this has been a very challenging year, lots of successes, but lots of challenges across the district. And some of the most common questions that we receive are about staffing, certainly about COVID. We have updates about not only where we are right now, but also what we're doing about it. And we're also going to have some updates on the technology and internet connectivity that's available to our families and opportunities to learn more about vaccines and the status of how many people have actually been vaccinated in the district. And very importantly, the mental health and student supports that we have, because I honestly am not sure that everyone understands the menu of services that we have for our children across the district. So we will be talking about that. At the end of the presentation, you're also going to see the names of certain contact people along with their email address so that you can call them or you can connect with them, send them an email message, and they will answer you in a very timely manner to respond to any of your questions that you have. So this evening, Jose just went off, but I wanted to introduce him. Jose has been with us in technology and our technology support and expert for a number of webinars and a number of events. And I would like to thank him for being here this evening. We have with us our current chief academic officer, Darren Schwartz, who is also my right hand and supports me in endeavors that we work on collectively in the district, and Darren Schwartz will join us. We also have Mr. Will Zuda, who is our Director of Technology and also has taken on some of the operational pieces. We have our Director of Communications, Berlin Michelis. We have our Director of College and Career Readiness, Nari Toussaint. Additionally, we have our Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Noreen Buckley. We have Mr. Juan Mendoza, who is our Assistant Superintendent and works with Human Capital. We have Dr. Laura White, who is our Director of Equity and Diversity. And we also have Mr. Matt Brown, who is our Chief Turnaround Officer, working with our turnaround schools. Additionally, we have Mr. Dan Berry, who has joined us this year as our lead on school safety coordinator. And we also have Dr. Joseph Johnson, who has joined as one of my interns this year. So you have us on the panel, and there are several members of our team who will present. And at the end, I will also have some special notes for our parents and for our staff who are tuning into this webinar at this time. The order of presentation is going to be our Assistant Superintendent for Human Capital, Mr. Mendoza, and the other staff members will just follow up.
Thank you, Dr. Ruffin. Good evening. Tonight I will be sharing the status of our vacancies and our current responses. Nowadays, no matter which media outlet you turn to today, you're going to more than likely see articles about staff shortages nationwide. And unfortunately, it's affected our education as well, not just only the job markets. And before the COVID-19 pandemic, we already knew there was already a teacher shortage in many areas such as mathematics, sciences, world languages, bilingual, special education, career and technical education. And then before the pandemic as well, we also knew that fewer students were enrolling in college of education and majoring in these highly sought after fields. And then to add to this, the pandemic came along, and many of the teachers retired nationwide or decided to leave the profession for health reasons. And as you know, this has caused an unprecedented great deal of competition amongst all our school districts to scramble to fill positions with a very small pool of available candidates of certified teachers to choose from. So currently today we have 141 vacancies district-wide. On average, our district averages 90 to 100 vacancies throughout the school year. This, we'd like to point out that this year we did have an additional add to staff of 63 certified staff members for the programs that we opened in our district. New schools, some of our programs grew. During this time, we also had 133 retirements and resignations together as of July 1st. Our current exit surveys, when our employees leave, we give them an exit survey, indicate that teachers are not just leaving for more money, but also for opportunities closer to home, to shorten commutes. And as you know, because of all the vacancies, it's more than likely teachers will be able to get a job closer to home. There are also salary variations and competition across the state, make it very challenging to retain some of our teachers if it does have to do, if the motivation is with money. We are working very closely with our unions to try to resolve some of these issues. Something that we'd like to point out is that although we did have those resignations and retirements, throughout this time as July 1st, we were also very busy. We were able to hire 164 teachers since July 1st, which is a great deal of staff. So the department's been very busy hiring staff throughout this time. During this time, we've taken multiple approaches to address the need for staffing. With board approval, we implemented a sign-on incentive and advertise it through our social media outlets. We've also been flexible, and we've negotiated salaries with shortage areas as authorized per the teachers' collective bargaining contract, as well as the Board of Education. We've posted job openings via multiple social media outlets and job sites. This year, we also sent over 12,000 emails twice this year, once in September and again in November, for every certified teacher in the areas of math and special ed in the state of Connecticut. We also share our job postings with over 60 community organizations and state organizations as well. Additionally, as a retainment strategy this year, we worked closely with our academic office, and we were able to partner with UConn for a math and science fellowship program to assist to retain strong teachers in these particular shortage areas. This slide is just a visual representation of just some of the platforms and tools that we use to recruit, such as Indeed, Brazen, Handshake, CT Reap, Indeed, Facebook, Twitter, and HBCU Careers. We've also highlighted some of the organizations within the community that we frequently send our job posts to in the greater Waterbury community, as well as state agencies. Additionally, we are one of the first districts in the state of Connecticut to partner with the Connecticut State Department's Teach Connecticut initiative, which is a platform to assist and offer guidance to students and community members who may have interest in seeking a career in teaching, and are guided as to what are the best options for them to pursue a career in education if they haven't received a degree in that area. This is a very helpful program. Usually they give you a one-to-one person that you could talk to, a consultant, and they'll give you different pathways for you to achieve your goal to become a teacher in the state of Connecticut. And they'll also connect you to the district. During this time, our office has taken full advantage and implemented the Connecticut State Department of Education's temporary flexible staffing options. Through these flexible options, we've been able to acquire an additional 46 staff members this year, 25 substitute authorizations, 13 long-term authorizations, 8 DSAPs in shortage areas. And we've also partnered with 11 universities and programs to host 17 student teachers this year, which we are recruiting and checking in periodically, with the hopes that through their experiences in the Waterbury Public Schools that they'll consider us for employment after they are done with their programs. Our talent development supervisors have been extremely busy attending and hosting job fairs in person and and remotely. As of September, they have attended a total of 21 job fairs. As you can see on the slide, some of the universities that they've worked with. Currently, we're actively seeking and signing up to attend more job fairs after the new year. And something that we've implemented new this year too is we're hosting weekly virtual job fairs that we promote through our social media outlets. And we've tried to host them every week on a different day or a different time, hoping that we could get some candidates that we might be able to reach to join our team. This year, we've been working very closely with our teachers union to compensate our teachers for student overages due to the staffing shortages. We both recognize that the need for our students to have a certified teacher teaching them. During this time, we've agreed to a couple memorandums of understanding in terms of compensation for student classroom overages, special education caseload overages for elementary and secondary, as well as for speech and language teachers caseload overages. We currently are working with the unions for other support areas to see if we could also do the same. And additionally, we've offered many opportunities to our district teachers, district-wide, for our middle and high school teachers to teach extra classes, and they can be compensated as agreed upon in the collective bargaining agreement. And many of our high school teachers are taking advantage of this currently. This year, we partnered with ESS, which is a sub-service. They provide us substitute teachers. As you've probably seen in the news recently, we do have a national substitute teacher shortage as well. This year, since August, they were able to hire 46 substitute teachers and currently have an active pool of 152 subs. Unfortunately, approximately 89 subs have complied with the COVID mandates that the state has initiated this year, and out of those 152. Currently, there's 87 applicants in the application pool that the agency is going to look at background checks as well as fingerprinting, and hopefully those 87 can join our team. Also, they've been very active with recruitment in terms of social media and on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They've taken the same approach. Any chance they could get to advertise for a job. They've also attended multiple events within the community. One thing that we're currently working on is that the district, we recognize the need for schools to have substitutes, especially during this time. And it's been such a challenge that we do want to attract more substitute teachers. So we're working on a contract amendment to increase the daily sub rates. Currently, our subs make $91 a day. With this amendment, they'd be making $110 a day. And our building-based subs currently make $101 a day. With this amendment, they'd be making $125 a day, which would make us one of the highest paying districts of the surrounding towns for substitutes. As well, within ESS, we'd be the highest paying district within ESS of the districts that they service. We're thinking long-term, and we're focusing on creating pipelines from our universities to our classrooms. We've worked closely with the state of Connecticut on the Next Gen Initiative program, which is designed to bring highly motivated college students seeking educational degrees into our classrooms. They get paid for the experience. As of August, we've been lucky enough to have 24 students visit our classrooms and work with us up to this time. We anticipate getting more students in January from Central Connecticut State University, as well as with our partnership with the Western Connecticut State University for this initiative. Secondly, in our district, we currently have our Educators Rising program, which we currently have 237 students enrolled in this program. And in this program, it gives students access to curriculum, to programs to interest them in education and to becoming teachers, and hopefully with the hopes that they could consider having a career in education. Fresh off the press on December 1st, the Connecticut State Department has added additional emergency certification endorsements for our current teachers, which we plan on taking advantage of. And hopefully some of our teachers will be able to teach extra classes. These are just some of the examples of some of the emergency certifications. I'll just review one to give the audience an example. So for an example for the 201 certification, it will allow any currently certified elementary school teacher to teach all content areas and subjects and grade levels within the pre-K to 8 span. And lastly, are our next steps. We want to continue to take advantage of our these emerging certifications, and hopefully it will help alleviate some of the work of our teachers. We want to continue to have collaboration with all our unions to find creative solutions to recruit and retain our staff. We want to continue to work closely with our WTA teachers union on teacher leadership programs, which will compensate the teachers for their own professional development as well as growth. We want to research and implement programs such as our Wellness Wednesday, which our academic office has implemented, which helps with our teachers' mindfulness at least once a month. We want to look at creative ways to advertise. So we're considering taking on some billboards, contacting movie theaters, and we're looking at our social media marketing strategy in terms of Google advertisements and boosting our posts. And lastly, we are currently in the middle of having new partnerships. We're drafting contracts with Quinnipiac, also MVCC, CREC's Connecticut Teacher Residency Program, which will provide teachers to our district, a couple teachers to our district. And then it's an alternate route program for teachers. And we're also currently we're talking to a couple universities about opportunities for them to provide our teachers, our certified and non-certified staff with a fast track to certification areas, especially special ed and math. And lastly, we're going to consider seeking more partnerships with universities to see if there's other opportunities for our teachers to join teaching fellowship programs. And that concludes our portion of our presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Dr. Laura White. I'm the Director of Equity and Diversity, and tonight I'd like to speak to the mental health and student supports. Recently, our district has really configured and added additional positions to directly implement, provide oversight, training, support, and resources for mental health and for your children. As the Director of Equity and Diversity, as you can see, there's several areas in which I fulfill that role. First and foremost is equity, looking at attendance, truancy, and behavioral interventions. I'd like to point out a really exciting program that we've been working very hard on since the summer in July. That is the Learner Engagement and Attendance Program, which we call LEAP. And LEAP is a program that we brought into the district with support from the state, and that we're able to work with other community partners that already are doing the work, like Waterbury Youth Services, to best share these practices and really set up and support our attendance teams to help your children. At this point, with the leadership of Quinacia Brown at LEAP in the engagement program, this has really included connecting you and providing those supports and clearing those barriers and making sure that you're aware of the community resources that are available that allow your child to attend school. At this time, since July, we have actually had an outreach of 739 families, both physically and home visits and virtually when possible.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Nairi Chusett, and my role as the Director of College and Career Readiness is to continuously monitor, improve, and develop college and career readiness programs, as well as collaborate with staff, families, students, and various community partners in regards to the areas you see listed, amongst others, as well as the social emotional supports of our students so that they are successful in the Waterbury Public Schools. An area I would like to highlight tonight would be the After Hours Mentorship Program. We're awaiting approval on this partnership. However, it will provide students with mentors, academic support, college and career assistance, and social emotional support. Searching for a partnership like this came out of the Rethink, Reimagine committees we had, where it was attended by staff, parents, community members, and students regarding how to use some of the ESSER funds. We also have one of our own graduates who has since graduated college and organized a mentorship program for our students as well, right here within our own community. Unfortunately, Melina Rodriguez couldn't be with us this evening. However, she has been recently assigned to be the supervisor of special education with a focus on various pupil services tasks. You will see them listed here. An exciting partnership that recently occurred with the Waterbury Police Department and in collaboration with Lisa Areola, the State Street principal, is the implementation of the Crisis Intervention Team for Youth, which also includes 2 social workers on this team. It is a very valuable support for our students.
So as you can see, our roles and our position really allowed the district to focus on the mission and fulfill our promise to you. And our mission, as we need to remember, is to inspire and prepare every student and child to be successful in and beyond school. The mental health resources also within the district, these are located in our school sites. So we've expanded hired positions, trained personnel, and that will include many of you, because some of you have been in contact. You've spoken with our various staff to support the needs of your children, and that can include behavior technicians, SROs, to looking and working with school psychologists and school social workers to meet your child's needs.
Many of the intervention approaches utilized in the district by the support staff mentioned in the previous slide are listed here. For example, students may check in with their school counselor as they arrive to school and check out with their school counselor before they leave, focused around the needs of that specific student. There's also goal setting, group counseling, and home visits, as you heard, to name a few. Again, one of the things I'm very excited about is adding the after hours mentorship program that will allow another layer of social emotional support for our students. On this slide, you'll see numerous community support agencies that as a district, we do refer our students and families to, and will continue to do so to help support overall well-being. And as you can see in working with Dr. White and Melina Rodriguez, we are here to assist and support our schools, students, and families, and continuously collaborate with the community to provide the mental health and other supports needed, which brings us back to our mission of supporting students to be successful in school and beyond. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Will Zuda. I'll be talking to you tonight about screen and stay protocols, testing in our schools, and vaccinations. I'd like to start off with some of the key takeaways from tonight's presentation is that we are much further ahead of COVID now than we were a year ago. We have the tools that we know work at managing and preventing this virus: masking, distancing, vaccinations, and regular testing. When we layer these tools together, we know they work. Even with the emergence of the Omicron variant, the message from the public health officials is consistent. Keep up the same behaviors we know have been working and we will be okay. Schools continue to be one of the safest places for children and adults when it comes to COVID. Transmission of COVID is much less likely to happen in schools than other settings because school is a controlled environment. We can control how students walk, how they sit, and how they stand. We can control how students move throughout the building. We have built-in surveillance for mask use by our teachers who know their students and give them a regular gentle reminder to pull up their masks. We have instituted vaccine mandates among all adults who work in the buildings and regular testing for those who are unvaccinated. We are encouraging our students to get vaccinated and then making those vaccination opportunities available on site. The screen and stay guidance. What is screen and stay? Screen and stay allows students and staff who are unvaccinated or partially vaccinated to remain in school after close contact with the COVID-19 provided the only contact occurred during the school day, can't occur at an extracurricular or social event. If it's indoors or on a school bus or other modes of transportation, both the contact and the case for masks during the exposure. If it's outdoors, then the mask or the unmasked must be done. The activity must be by supervised staff. In other words, a mask break, PE, or recess. And the contact must remain asymptomatic. If the contact develops any symptoms, it must revert back to the isolation and quarantine. Why screen and stay? Well, we know that frequent repeated quarantines are negatively affecting learning and burdening our families. We know that screen and stay provides immediate relief without extensive operational planning, and we were able to get this up and operational really fast, really quickly. We know that this is a temporary solution for the remainder of the fall while vaccines roll out for grades 5 to 11 years old. We know that our mitigation strategies inside schools in Connecticut are very strong and compliance is very high. And we know that documented transmission inside our school building has been infrequent. Benefits of in-person learning outweigh any risks of transmission, especially among masked and asymptomatic students. Screen and stay is an option available to schools when someone has been identified as a close contact. Parents must sign an opt-in form and agree that they will screen their child for symptoms of COVID before sending them to school. And they must agree not to send their child if they have any symptoms. One of the next topics I would like to discuss with you tonight is screen testing in schools. Regular testing in schools is an effective way to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 and to help our schools remain open for in-person learning. Testing keeps schools safe by catching cases before they spread to other students and staff. We know that testing stops the spread by preventing infection. We know that screen testing is free to our students. The test is just a lower nasal swab. It's not a brain tickler. And we will be sending out a parent square message, will be resent, to families encouraging them to complete the parental consent form. As of today, we have 805 students that have consented to weekly testing in our schools, and we would like to increase that number because we know that testing stops the spread. COVID testing and vaccination. So if your child or if you know of a student who wants to get tested, they can visit the city testing site at the Brass Mill Mall. They can visit their pharmacies, urgent care centers, and most pediatrician offices. If they need to get vaccinated, they can visit their pediatrician or family doctor. They can visit 910 Wolcott Street, which is the Payless Center next to Walmart, or they can visit a pharmacy. We have drive-up and walk-up testing sites in Waterbury. Those locations can be found at the waterbury.ct.org/services/health/COVID-19 to get a list of those sites. This is a flyer on the Wolcott Street Vaccination Clinic. I put it on here as a visual so everybody can see the hours of operation. They're staggered to accommodate families, so different days, different schedules. This is available on our website. The other topic I'd like to discuss with you tonight is vaccinations. We know that children 5 to 11 are now eligible for vaccines, and we know the vaccines are safe. We know that children 5 and 11 are the group right now that represents the greatest number of infections and the quickest growing rate of infections. We know that most kids are not very sick when they get infected, but they are super efficient at spreading the virus. There are several benefits of getting your child vaccinated or for a student to be vaccinated. That is, they can participate in sports, they don't have to quarantine, family visits, and socialization. To date, there have been, from November 1st to December 2nd, 2,719 vaccines in our schools or on the city vaccination site. I think to date, it's been over 18,000 vaccinations that have been given out by the health department. 618 were vaccinated in pop-up clinics set up at the Waterbury Public Schools. 351 were 12 years or older. That included parents, teachers, and students. And 267 were 5 to 11-year-olds. This is a visual of all the upcoming clinics that we have scheduled at our schools for students to be vaccinated. These visuals will be made available on our website for future reference. Technology updates. I'd like to update you tonight on the Comcast partnership. It's called the Internet Essentials Partnership. Internet Essentials Partnership provides the opportunity for schools and districts to connect students and families. Waterbury was awarded 3,000 Internet Essential Plus vouchers. We will be able to provide 1 voucher to each household. That will offer each the household 1 year of high-speed internet access. There'll be no equipment or rental fees, and it'll provide them with SIPA internet protection, compliance, and parental controls. The total award, if we offer out all 3,000 vouchers, is over $1 million. This money has been set aside through an FCC established $7.17 billion government program called the Emergency Connectivity Fund that we applied for in the district and we were awarded. Families may be eligible if they live in an area where Comcast internet service is available. That should cover almost all of Waterbury. And if you qualify for the programs like the National School Lunch Program, Housing Assistance, Medicaid, SNAP, SSI, and others, all of our students are qualify for the National School Lunch Program. So anybody in need, once the vouchers become available, we'll be able to offer to our Waterbury families. This is a quick visual on how to apply. This slide will be available online for future reference. Dr. Ruffin?
The screen that you're seeing is going to be left up for you to really capture, whether you want to take a picture of it or you want to record those names and those numbers. This is where you can contact the staff individually to be able to have any of your questions answered, whether it's to know what is the status of our vacancies in the district, whether it's a question that you have about the mental health of students or mental health. You can contact the people listed there. And if you have any questions about COVID, the COVID guidelines, protocol, or technology within the district, who to contact as well. The screen is going to stay up so that you can continue to make reference to all of these contacts. And I'm going to share in closing 3 particular points that I'd like to make additionally tonight. I know that this is a lot of information, and maybe at times when you see all of this information, it looks overwhelming. You're not really certain how to connect to all of those resources or which resource might be the most appropriate for you or your child or for your individual needs in your campus. That's why the individuals here, the presenters tonight, are a direct link to help you to be able to manage and to find the very best resource that's available. We're very pleased in Waterbury that we have a very strong, dedicated staff of professionals that have remained with us throughout the year during a most challenging beginning of the year opening. It has been the most challenging year that I've ever experienced in opening a school, and I think our teachers and our administrators and those staff working so hard to keep everything going, along with our parents, can attest to that. This is truly a disruption. And when we talk about disruption, maybe even in research, you heard people talking about disrupting education. That was one thing to read about it. It's very different when you're experiencing it, because the disruption not only caused it on a worldwide level, which was overwhelming, but when you start feeling it personally in your family or in your day-to-day lives, and you really see that job shortages are very real, and those are positions that we never had to worry about filling. The bus driver shortage, the number of paraprofessional and support staff that we typically have in our schools to be able to individualize supports for students and for teachers. The number of teachers in critical shortage areas. We've always had a problem, and we knew this was going to be problematic in years to come, that we were going to have some type of teacher shortage. We've experienced that. But the level of teacher shortages this year has been unprecedented across Connecticut and across the nation. We're competing with each other. We are trying our very best to be able to have our current staff assume more responsibilities. And I believe at times we probably overwhelm them, but I am deeply appreciative of their concern and their willingness to take on more children and to really help during a most critical time that will not be different for the remainder of the 21-22 school year. And I say that not because I'm a pessimist. I'm actually very optimistic. I don't believe that we're going to come out of this situation thinking that we're going to solve tomorrow's problems the way we used to in the past, because that's not happening. We do have to think of different ways that we're going to be able to meet the needs of our students. That's why our student pipeline to becoming a teacher, our encouraging others who perhaps are very close to getting a degree, actually complete their degree. Alternative ways of being able to impact children in teaching and learning inside the classroom. that perhaps we have not accepted before, you're seeing some of that being allowed now. And I think that with that comes an inordinate amount of support that we must be committed to providing so that people are successful when they're teaching your children. One might add, well, if you're losing teachers and if it's a salary issue, why don't you use some of the ARP ESSER money? Why don't you use the ESSER money? Because you guys have a lot of money through ESSER. That is true. We did receive a lot of money. But that money is strategically placed under 5 different categories. None of those are meant to increase salaries across the board. Plus, even if we were to increase salaries, the funding to increase salary, even by $1,000, would render us without money in the category of what we can utilize for teachers and staff incentive. And we don't want to do something that is short term. It's critical that what we do, we can do it, it can last. If it's working, we can invest in it in the future. And keeping in mind that the ESSER money runs out at the end of 2023, and another portion of that money runs out in 2024. We have to be very intentional about, so what are we going to do beyond that? It's important to be able to look at ways to measure our successes. I believe that when the counselors and when the social workers and when the additional mentors that we heard through the Rethinking and Reimagining Education Committee, that students have voiced that they wanted to be able to have contact with a counselor beyond the regular school day. I think the fact that you're going to see that actually happening is huge for the students, because that's a part of what student voice has caused to be created within Waterbury Public Schools. So I wanted to be very clear that I shared with you about the salary so that you're not thinking that this money, why don't you use it for that? I want you to understand that the money is being used for what it is intended, understanding that there are 5 categories for which we can spend it. And we will have and continue to have webinars and discussions around how this money is going to be spent at various intervals so that you could see your voices and how this money is being spent moving forward. I also want to talk about inclement weather days. You know, today with the snow overnight and the ice, you might wonder, well, so how is the decision made? You know, because my road was slippery, or why did we have to go out today? And I will tell you that every time that there is a potential for inclement weather, someone is working around the clock and in the wee hours of the morning to assess the situation. So there's an entire team working to determine, are the roads going to be clear? So we work with the city of Waterbury. We work with our crew in maintenance and in operations. We work with people who are out there in the wee hours of the morning before anybody else is awake to really give me an update on, is it safe to be able to open schools? Now, we also know that Waterbury has a lot of hills. So when we do have school, and if your area happens to be icy, or you have a situation that doesn't allow for you to be safe, the proper protocol would be to contact the principal of the school to allow them to know that you might be a little bit detained, but you still can come if it is not a hazardous situation. What we want to do is we want to assure that we continue to provide educational services for children regardless. And we're not going to shut down school for a day like today, when in reality, the snow did not last very long and the roads were not icy, and they certainly were not prohibitive of travel. But what did occur was there were lots of accidents out on the road. So we want you, we in Waterbury, my staff and I want you to be very safe. We want you to be cautious. We want you to not only be aware of how you're driving, but the fact that other people can sometimes cause an accident and you have no way of avoiding it. We want you to be conscious of that. So in an inclement weather day, or in a day that you suspect that there's going to be a situation that you need to be cautious of, I want you to know a lot of thought has gone into that before a decision is ever made. I would say that out of any decision that a superintendent will ever make, the one that's the most controversial is when the superintendent makes a decision about an inclement weather day. you know, because there's a no-win situation. There's somebody who wants to go out to work because they need to make sure that their children are somewhere and they need to be safe. And there's someone who doesn't want to go to work because they think that it's too dangerous to go out. So there's never, well, I'll please everybody with this one decision. The only thing that I want you to know about that is there is a lot of thought and a lot of commitment that's made before any decision is made, whether people agree with it or not. The other part that's critically important, you heard that this year, we cannot use a virtual day as a day present for an inclement weather day. So that was really nice last year, because if we were for a snow day or ice day, if we were able to stay home, we were able to go virtual. We did not have to make the school year any longer because we were able to have virtual learning. I want you to know Waterbury did not make that decision to discontinue the virtual learning. This is the entire state of Connecticut that is not going to be allowed to have virtual learning for a snow day this year. And so at this time, if it ever changes, I will communicate that to you. But as of now, it is not something, and I've heard and I've seen it somewhere on social media where people are saying, well, why can't we just have a snow day and go virtual and that counts as a day that everyone is present? We're not allowed to do that. That's why we're not doing it. And if any of that changes, I will gladly let you know. We'll keep you posted. And then finally, let's talk about safety, because that to me is the most important. We want everyone to be safe. And that's a huge undertaking that schools by themselves cannot do this alone. I am forever grateful to our teachers, our counselors, social workers, students, parents, and those that are sharing information in a way that will get us to be aware if somebody poses a threat to our school or to students. It's very important that we don't forget about the importance of relationships and trust when people bring information to us, allowing us to be able to immediately develop a plan to provide safety across the campus. Unfortunately, across the US, we have seen a rise in threats towards schools. And we have seen that rise in a way that is quite alarming. I'm very proud of the work that our teachers, our students, our parents, our work with the Waterbury Police Department and Chief Spagnolo in making certain that we collectively work to assure that our students and staff are safe and that our community is safe within our schools. I'm very grateful that our Director of School Safety, Dan Berry, is really constantly paying attention to any threat that we would get, to any potential alarm that we need to be aware of or alert. And we're always going to be doing that. That is a priority for us. I will tell you that what has hurt us more than anything else is when people are taking social media posts and instead of sharing it with the person that can actually do something about it, they're posting it again. And so it's gaining momentum. It's gaining a lot of attention. And if you will also note that almost 100% of the time, there's inaccurate information that's being spread. It's almost like you start off by telling someone one sentence, and by the time you finish, after it gets to 20 people, you don't even recognize the story anymore. Well, that's what's been happening with social media. We take it seriously, however, and we're going to continue to take it seriously. But very importantly, we want Waterbury to be very comfortable, to trust for our students and our parents and our teachers to develop those meaningful relationships so that if someone is scared, if someone has a question, if someone has a doubt about something, there's a trusting adult at the school level that you could go to and you could share that information and that person will respond immediately. Unfortunately, that's exactly what we had to do at least 3 times this week. But we did it, and we did it because it was the right thing to do. But we didn't do it alone. We had all of the school staff, we had the police department, we had others that were paying attention and also securing the schools so that children and teachers and staff were going to be safe. I want to ask you for that continued support because that's so important to keeping our schools not only open, but open and safe. We have a symposium occurring next week on December the 15th, one for my administrators, principals, assistant principals, school counselors, and social workers. It will be at Crosby High School. And so the staff at Crosby High School, if they choose to attend, they can, because it will be on site at that school. But it will be a webinar. It will be conducted by Chief Spagnolo and myself and our staff. And we will talk about school safety. We will talk about ways that parents can assist children. Critically important, especially now more than ever, is that parents have control over what students are seeing and sharing on social media. I cannot tell you how many incidents we have interceded on behalf of the student who may have been tackled in a social media post. And it doesn't only go to one person, it goes to many people. And sometimes, surprisingly and very disappointingly, adults are sharing it. And it's creating such a problem on the school site that the principals and the principal teams are really mitigating that all day long, because they want all the children safe. But they're fighting this social media battle, which is really like an invisible enemy, because it's out there. So I ask our parents to continue to be vigilant, continue to look at what your children are saying, doing, and seeing on social media. And please assist us by not taking that social media post and posting it so that it can have even more views. Call the authorities, have the right people know about it so that we collectively can provide safety to the children in the school. But when you share it and you share it out with a lot of people, what it does is it instills fear. And nothing is worse than fear. Our parents do not want to send their students to school if their children are fearful. And sometimes children are fearful because of the way that their parents are responding. So I ask for your continued support. I thank our teachers and staff and all of our staff for paying attention to what students are saying, listening and hearing, and being able to advocate for children in a meaningful way. I sincerely believe that that has been the strongest strategy that we could possibly have in Waterbury, is that our students talk to our teachers and our teachers and our staff respond. So I thank you for that. And parents, I hope that you are very comfortable knowing that there's a trusting adult in every one of the schools that can respond to your needs and can make certain that your children are safe. You know, at one time, we might have been concerned about the world and some of the safety issues that were occurring. But at no other time in my entire life have I ever experienced the fact that we are battling a pandemic. We're battling teacher shortages in critical areas that will never be retrieved at the same level as we were before. We have lack of employees and employers in critical areas where we never thought we would ever be without, like bus drivers or bus aides or teacher assistants and paraprofessionals that are so critical to the teaching and learning component in the schools. We never saw such a shortage. While that is very concerning, and I'm certain that it brings concern for parents as well as our staff, I want you to know that collectively we're going to work on it. And we know that we cannot solve all of the issues that we have seen in the world today only in schools. It's going to take a concerted effort with community partners. It's going to take people really wanting to be mentors and knowing how to mentor young people and speaking with them for the long haul. You know, no one wants a passing mentor who visits one time a month and then you don't see them again. You know, that relationship takes time to build, and you will hear us talking about that. And before I close, just wanted to note some of the next steps. We did have a presentation for our staff, our administrators, and we asked them to invite a parent to the session. And so our principals, assistant principals, and some schools attended with parents who had an opportunity to look at a security warning system. That security warning system, if we were to proceed, we certainly have to have many more discussions with our board, and we certainly want to be able to answer any questions that anyone has. But if we were to proceed, would also come with an overall package of also additional staff. Now, we know we can't find the staff, so I'm not talking about the traditional way. I'm talking perhaps a response or a proposal for some staff who could help the principals and help the teachers inside the school. So we're working on that. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I do assure you that we will keep you posted. And I would expect that within the next couple of weeks, I will have more information to share on the security system, one way or the other. I'm in no means saying that is the area that we're going to go in, but I want you to know that is exactly what we're thinking about. That we are thinking of not only the securing of the school and the systems, but we're also thinking about how we strategically have staff that will be able to join you and not put any additional concerns on the parents as well as on the principals and assistants, because I know that everyone is hard. That will conclude my presentation this evening. I do have that safety symposium next week with Chief Spagnolo on December the 15th. I certainly hope that I have many of you, if not all of you, in that meeting. And I also would expect that we're going to have another session specifically for parents. And what we'd like to do is during that safety symposium, in addition to the chief and myself and my staff and some of his staff, we would like to have some of our providers to be on this particular symposium so that they can reach out directly to parents, and you will have a direct line to how and who you're talking to be able to assist you during this time. You know, we hear so often about things happening around the holiday, and we want to make certain that parents are equipped to be able to help their children through a perhaps holiday that might be a little bit more challenging than it was 2 years ago. And we want to help you by providing those resources in a way that it's easy for you to access and in more than one language. So I hope that you will stay tuned and take part in the December 15th. We're going to publish the date and the time for the parent symposium, which could be on the same date, but it could be a different date. We have to check the availability of some of the resources that we would like to bring to you. This is a holiday season. It has come upon us very quickly. I wish all of you a wonderful holiday season. I hope that you have peace and happiness, that you can count the blessings that you have by being together with your families. I know many of you have had losses in your family, and you have your level of stress and anxiety. I hope that you have an opportunity during this holiday season to reflect on all of the great things that you do, as well as the great influence that you have on the children of Waterbury. And I want to thank you for that and wish you a happy holiday. And I look forward to coming back perhaps in January or February to share some updates from this conversation that we're having with you this evening. So thank you very much and happy holidays.
Do you want me to end it?
I think you can.
All right. Good night.
Good night, Jose. Feel better.
Thank you.